We're Jay and Kimberly Frost. First, we just want to thank you for joining this opportunity that we just want to talk about our lives, talk about the things that we've been through, how we met, how our marriage has been, and the difficulties and the joy that we found all the way through that time that we've done it. We want to talk today, if you saw our video, you'll see we began with how we met. We're going to talk a little bit about where we came from and our background.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of do these live, so if people want to ask questions or chime in on some stuff, that way we're here to kind of just, help whoever's out there that might be struggling, because we know a lot of marriages out there are struggling, and our heart is for marriages, because if we can go through what we went through, then a lot of you can get through it too with the help of God. Yeah, so basically, I was raised here in Arizona, and so was Jay. This is kind of nice. We're natives. And I was raised up in North Phoenix. My parents are from Germany, so I didn't have a lot of family here. Most of my family was in Germany. And my dad was a police officer here in Phoenix, and my mom kind of did odds and ends, but she was pretty much a hairstylist. And I wasn't really raised in a church. My mom did believe in God, and she taught us kids how to pray. But there really was no God. And back when I was born in '69, in the 70s, you can just imagine, that was a crazy time for our parents. And so my parents actually ended up divorcing when I was 13. And I went a little nutty when I was young.
You went really nutty.
Really nutty. He didn't know me, but I was nutty. And like all girls do, was very promiscuous at that age, and got involved with a lot of drugs and alcohol and partying and things like that. And then, my dad had taken me to church a couple times when my parents were divorced, but I never really felt comfortable there. I almost felt like I was judged. It's probably because I was doing so many wrong things at the time. But then when I was 21, almost 22, I did meet Jay. And we'll tell you more about how we met and that circumstance later. But that's kind of my background and how I was raised. And definitely no God, no church, party, all my teenage, high school years. And that's kind of how I started out.
So for me, I was born in 1960s, a lot of people call it. And my mom took us to church. We went to a church called Love Baptist Church in the Glendale area. I was also born and raised here, and loved being a native, loved Arizona, and loved the life when I was 3. So I was raised until my mom remarried when I was 10. But she took us to church, and when she remarried, I used to play tricks on her, though, because we didn't like going to church, and we would go out and play Sunday morning and just kind of make it back to church, to the house, just in time so we'd be too late to be able to go to church. But I did have God in my life, and my mom talked about God and prayed with us, and we spent a great deal of time in that realm. When I went into high school, though, is when I started becoming a partier, smoking pot with my friends, hanging out with them before and after school. Unfortunately, missed a lot of school, got decent grades, but didn't really participate in school like I should have. When I got out of high school, I met a gal and got married at the age of 23, and stayed married to her till sometime around when I was 29 years old. And that's when I met Kimberly. Prior to that, though, I started going to a church when I was 17, and it was the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I almost became a minister, and my wife at the time was having a hard time with the idea of me becoming a pastor. And because she wasn't with me, I, in my own immaturity, decided that I can't do this. If I'm not going to be where I feel God was calling me to be, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow I know I'm going to die. So at no doubt later on, within a few years, because we had walked away from the church, walked away from God, I felt I'd walked away from my calling. It was no accident that I was in the middle of divorce just a few years later. And one night, my friends and I wanted to just go out. I just wanted to relax. I was in the middle of this divorce and was tired just sitting around the house doing nothing. And we all went out to a place called the Arizona Center.
And that's when we met.
And that's where we met.
But we'll do that. We'll talk about that live video next week. So we're going to try to go live weekly. And if you guys want to chime in or send us any messages on questions or anything, or your thoughts, get on there, watch our story. We did tape our story. It is long. It's 30 minutes. we couldn't cut it down any further.
And we had a few people who have seen it who said it's enough detail where you get the idea of where we're going with this.
Right.
And so I think it'll really help you as we go through this process every week. You'll kind of have an idea of where we're at in each time you chime in or every week that we do this. And I think it'll really just guide you to perhaps see some things in yourself as we speak about ourselves and how transparent we're going to be.
Yeah, very transparent.
It's going to be rough. We're going to be talking about things that most people are afraid to talk about. And we hope that by doing so, you can see that God, even through the misery that we were, the joys that He gave us, and all the difficulties we went through, it's just amazing how we are where we are today. And it's a story that I think will touch each one of you in a way that I hope will perhaps bring you closer in your own marriages.
And closer to God.
And closer to God, especially. That's how your marriage is going to get closer, because of God. So again, thank you for coming today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. And if you have any questions again, please chime
Message us.
in. Right, yeah, but watch the video.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big thing. So thank
Have
you
a good
again.
night.
Have a great night.
Thanks.
God bless.